Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Varsity Club Lacrosse podcast presented by Focus on the Field. Now, Focus on the Field is an administrative service provider focused on youth sports organizations. They offer a fully outsourced turnkey solution to the administrative burden facing administrators, coaches, and volunteers. They offer multiple services through administration, communication, registration, and technology. The Focus on the Field team has extensive experience in youth services and parent engagement with a deep understanding of the nuance involved in driving a positive experience. This, combined with years of industry knowledge in youth sports, has enabled Focus on the Field to become the modern solution in optimizing youth sports administration. All right, now back to the episode. Hello and welcome back to the Varsity Club Lacrosse podcast, your go-to source for all things club lacrosse. On today's episode, we're going to discuss the newest MCLA news. We have an exclusive interview with Coach Dan Sahm with Purdue University, and we're going to have a couple more hot takes. All right, Sam, how are you doing today?
I am doing beautiful. It feels good to be back here. It's been a while since we've been here. That is our fault, but we will hopefully be on some type of schedule. But yeah, I'm feeling good to be back. Excited to talk about some new stuff and around the MCLA. Yeah, how you been, Brian?
Doing good, doing good. Yeah, we hopefully will have some sort of tighter schedule. And I'm just going to give a little shout out to both of us. We are now both employed, so that will give us a good schedule. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
So we're both very excited for the opportunities given to us. And as you heard earlier, we do have a sponsor that is focused on the field. Very grateful to have them with us. And honestly, let's just get right into the new MCLA news. So what do you got, Sam?
Yeah, so this is directly from MCLA, their website, and an article they wrote about their new partnership with Crease Pro. So Crease Pro is a 365-day digital coach empowering players and coaches with data-driven insights to unlock their full potential every day. The mission is to provide affordable, elite-level resources that cover all facets of athlete development on and off the field. If I'm being honest, I am not sure what that really means in terms of the MCLA, but I'm happy that someone is trying to step in to help. It seemed like, if people didn't have fields, they could still use this training to get stuff done that day and whatnot. And it was founded by two people. One of them was Joe Nelson, who's St. Joe's, I believe, grad, SJU. I'm going to be honest, if I mess that up, I'm sorry. Graduated in 2010, and then Gunnar Walt, who played at Bryant and graduated in 2016. So I'm hoping a lot of teams will start using that and giving feedback and just saying, this is what we're doing with it. Maybe even posting. I saw this summer, it might have been Colorado State, I might be wrong, but someone was posting like their workouts and who was getting like top reps or whatever it was. And I think if this could be something like that, it would be cool just to see what teams are doing and see who's top dog there and kind of getting that exposure from your team. So yeah, we'll see what that kind of turns out to be.
Yeah, that sounds sick. I'm glad that I feel like any type of partnership for the MCLA is good. It's going to be spreading more awareness and hopefully just continuing to help out teams across the entire league.
Yeah, absolutely. And going off of that, I will give a shout out to someone who's not sponsored by the MCLA, but secondslide.io from Nick Ocello and Brent Adams. That's kind of a place where you can go get apparel, like a team store. And instead of the companies taking all of your money, Second Slide focuses on getting you the most money. So I would definitely check out that if you're looking up for a team store. And then also something that I am very passionate about and fired up about. Washington State hired their first coach, and honestly, what feels like a long time. His name is, let's see here, Shane Winkler. He's a former player, just graduated from what I got off of the MCLA website in 2023. So super excited for them. I think the last coach they had wasn't even a coach, if I'm not mistaken, and Jared Zaharian. He was their president and player, and he was doing basically just everything for them for a couple of years, because they didn't have a coach. The coach before that, I want to say, was some type of volunteer, so it wasn't really structured and whatnot. But finally, they're able to get their feet on the ground. So I'm really happy for them to start figuring things out and start playing some meaningful lacrosse again.
Yeah, I know getting a new coach can completely change a program.
For sure.
At my time at Purdue, we did go through a coaching change, and that was Coach Sahm coming in, who we will speak with later in this episode. And honestly, it can be a huge culture change, and hopefully for them, it'll be for the better. I know it definitely was for us. It completely changed the atmosphere that we had and the culture. We definitely became a lot more serious once he joined. So, congrats to Washington State. I hope that their new coach will help them continue to advance and become a better program.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went through 4 coaches in 5 years. So I
Holy shit.
totally
What
understand what that's like. Yeah. Well, first year, I'll just go through this. First year,
Yeah.
coach was in grad school. Marcus McCain, he was a good coach. And he left. And then we had Charlie Jackson, who was one of the nicest people, best coaches I've ever had. And he sadly passed away that next season, so our junior year. And then our assistant coach was our head coach. And then we hired someone for my last 2 years. And now they have a new coach. So it's just a lot of turnover in Eugene. You know, it's hard to keep people there, to be
Yeah.
honest. But I know what that's like, you know. And so I'm really happy for Washington State for sure. And then next one we've got is Grand Valley State coach Tim Murray. Met up with Zachary Fry. Met up maybe is the wrong word. He met Zach Fry at a wheelchair lacrosse tourney. I just think that is absolutely amazing. I think that's what the MCLA is all about. Just wherever you go at a lacrosse tournament, you're most likely going to see someone from the MCLA. What was cool about this, MCLA wrote an article, and Coach Murray like recognized his number, and kind of knew what he looked like. So he's like, I think I know that guy. I went up and, you know, saw his Sam Houston uniform and whatnot. And so I just think that's something that's really cool about the MCLA is, you know, wherever you're going, you will see someone and they'll be just as excited as you are to talk about it.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. And then we got some shout outs to players who've been playing in other leagues this summer. So we've got some Simon Fraser players who were playing in the Minto Cup, which is something I'm not very familiar with, but it's a Canadian Senior Box League Championship from what I've read about. And 3 players they've got is Robert Turpin, Riley Isaacs, and Sean. I'm sorry, I'm probably getting this wrong. Kriwakin. That was a tough one.
That's sounded all right. Sounded good.
Yeah. So I played against all those guys when I was playing. So it's cool to see even, you know, other teams you play against playing somewhere else. And then we've got National Collegiate Box League, where players Ryan Sanders from Cal Poly, Eric Selfridge from Fort Lewis, James Bowers from Colorado State, Nolan Hoffner from Colorado State, and Coach Cam Holding from Grand Valley State. So lots of guys are getting out. And even at the Team Worlds, there were maybe 1 or 2 guys there. I feel like there were a few more. So it's nice to see MCLA guys getting out. And one thing about lacrosse that's great and that you don't see in very many other facets or sports is, you know, we might go up against some pro players, maybe people who played in the MLL, the NLL, whatever it may be. You had the opportunity to go head to head with some of the best athletes in the sport, which a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do. So I think that's one thing, again, that makes the MCLA and lacrosse so special.
Yeah. Sam, have you played box lacrosse before?
I played once and I got like booed because I was just hitting some kid against the boards, and I thought that's how you played.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think it's for me. I don't know.
I feel like it's a different animal. I've never gotten to play, but just like watching it, I kind of wish I did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there might be a couple leagues out in LA. I'll have to look into that, but it just seems super physical, super fast paced.
Yeah.
Even more so than just normal lacrosse, which is insane to think about.
Yeah.
But Man, shout out to anyone who plays box lacrosse because it seems like it's a intense and physical sport.
Yeah, I mean, I could play it, but like again, I played D-pole for reasons because I can't score the ball. So box would have been fun, just setting picks and being a goon. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be much help on the offensive side.
Hey,
Um,
I never was any help, even as a midi,
yeah,
but
I'm clearing the ball and trying to pass.
yeah,
I could not hit cage, so
right.
um,
We talked about a
yeah,
lot of coaches being hired. Again, if there are any openings available for your school, remember to hit us up on Instagram and we will share that information. You can follow our link tree at the Varsity Club Lacrosse on Instagram. We want to make sure that everyone can be supported, and we try to repost and also retweet on Twitter. Or excuse me, repost on X.
still Twitter,
RIP Twitter.
still Twitter.
But yeah, if there's any other MCLA news that you need to be spread out, make sure to hit us up, and we'd love to help you guys out. All right, now that concludes our news talk / roundup. And for our next segment, we will go into our interview with Coach Dan Sahm of Purdue University. Okay, we now welcome on a very special guest. He grew up in Indy, played at Purdue from 2013 to 2016, one of 2 All-Americans in Purdue lacrosse history, part of the only 3 Purdue teams to make it to nationals, and he took over as head coach at Purdue from the 2019 season. Please welcome on Coach Dan Sahm.
Yeah, let's go. Thanks for having me on, guys. Definitely appreciate you inviting me to talk with you guys, and yeah, just looking forward to spread the good word of Purdue lacrosse to everybody.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you for coming
And
on.
a little thanks for a little bit of a humble brag on all those accolades there, Ryan.
Dude, of course. Best coach of all time. I had my final semester with Coach Sahm, and it was just such a good change, and I believe completely changed the Purdue program. So, for the better by far. So, with that being said, let's get into this interview. What was it like for you growing up playing lacrosse in Indianapolis, and how did you hear about Purdue lacrosse and the MCL lacrosse?
Yeah, so I did not start playing until my sophomore year of high school, actually. So, as you guys know, lacrosse in the Midwest isn't really all that big. It's nothing compared to like the East Coast or even a little bit somewhat down south, like Georgia, Florida area is kind of around there. It's in Indy, there's not really much. When I grew up, I was all football, basketball, baseball for me, and then I was always a big football guy. So always just wanted to keep doing that and trying to do some stuff that would like try to be similar to it. And so when I wasn't really into doing basketball and baseball anymore, and this was going into my like sophomore year of high school, I was trying to think of a second sport to do. So it was either track and field and that was for speed to try to get faster and all that. But then I had some friends that were on the lacrosse team, like, hey, you should do this instead. So then they gave me a stick, and then I just started hitting the wall and got started playing. Now in Indy, it's not as big as like I said out on the East Coast, but there's some good competition in Indy. Like you've got to be playing like Carmel, Cathedral, Hamilton Southeastern, like teams that are winning state every single year between amongst those 3. But it was a very, very good experience. Was able to played JV my sophomore year as a midi, and then going through a couple different positions. I moved to LSM my junior year, did that for my junior and senior year. And then going into college, it was either between Purdue or the school down south, IU.
Boo.
Um, yeah, well, got to give them credit in some places,
It's
but
a good business school.
yeah, so it was either between those schools, and I visited both, and I felt more comfortable being at Purdue, so stuck with it. And I was thinking like, okay, what can I do in college? I wasn't really into the whole like fraternity scene, wasn't trying to do all that, but still wanted to do something. So I learned that they do have a club lacrosse team, so I reached out, got some more information about it, and then was able to like was able to join the team and play the 4 years that I did and do all the things like you said. We the three conference championships, that was very, very awesome to be able to do that, especially my freshman year, beating IU by one for that. And then my junior and senior year, being able to win those and go out to Southern California, which is definitely an awesome experience. But yeah, no, just growing up in Indy and is a big change going from that level of competition, which I mean, in Indy, it's everyone's kind of the same except for like a few schools where they're really higher end, and then going to Purdue where you never know what you're going to be going up against. Like they're all very, very good teams, and you just got to work on being better. Work on trying to beat all of them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look for lacrosse, especially club lacrosse, as an outlet away from fraternities. Obviously, you still have those guys in those groups that play lacrosse, but I feel like a lot of guys appreciate the aspect of club lacrosse because it still gives you that social aspect and also that team camaraderie and, at least still playing competitive lacrosse. So, yeah.
No, I definitely agree. And it's something I tell a lot of guys as well, is like I'm glad that I'm glad that I played lacrosse because like it's like a fraternity. So like I'm still hanging out with and still hanging out with my teammates on weekends or going out and doing different things on weeknights, like getting dinners. We still did community service and fundraising events like any other fraternity would. The thing I just love more about is I could travel with my teammates on weekends and go play games.
Yeah.
The bus trips are always my favorite. We just being with them, like being on a bus for as long as we were. I mean, yeah, it sucks being on a bus for very long, but you know what? You're still socializing with each other, learning more about your teammates, about who they are, what kind of person that they are, and even about the coaching staff as well. I had two coaches, one my freshman sophomore year, then another my junior senior year, and I got to learn more about them from those experiences as well. So the those are the memories that I cherish the most from my playing times. And even as a coach now, just getting the chance to know the players during those instances too, that's very awesome to be able to experience that.
Yeah, I agree with that. What was the longest bus ride you think you've ever taken? Either playing or coaching?
My freshman year, the first weekend of games, we went down to Clemson, played them one weekend. Um, so I think that may have been the longest one now that I think. Oh, sorry, never mind. I just remembered my senior year, we went to Maryland. We played 3 games there in one weekend. We left that so it was like Thursday night, Friday morning. We left at 2 a.m. that Friday night, and we had a game that Thursday night. Then we had a game that Friday night at like 7 p.m. in
Wow.
Maryland, and then we had a game that Saturday in the afternoon. Then we had a game that Sunday, and I don't think we got back from that Sunday night until like 3 or 4 a.m.
Yep.
So that was a lot of
Wow.
fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
While
sounds like
still
club
having,
lacrosse.
yeah, and
Do
still
what?
having to do a bunch of classes and getting all your homework and yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, luckily, like that was my senior year when that happened, so it wasn't too bad as far as classes go. But I mean, everyone else I know, like the freshmen and the sophomores, I know that they were all cramming to get as much done as they could, or they were just doing their stuff on the bus as well. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
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 So you have
Uh,
a unique situation where you are coaching a team that you previously played for. What is that like for you?
It's an interesting experience, just like being able to talk to people, and it just about like my experience from playing while also coaching at the same time. So like whenever I am trying to do like recruiting for certain players that I've been talking to, or even just talking with my players about things, I can tell them about my experiences from being on the team, because not only was I just a player, I was also treasurer my junior year and president my senior year. So from an officer standpoint, I could talk with those guys about like the things that I went through, so that way they could be able to figure out how to do things their own way, but be able to have somebody to talk to about like how they should be able to figure certain things out. Because I mean, I don't know if you guys were officers for when you played, but I mean, yeah, there's certain things that we got to get figured out as treasurers and presidents to be able to manage all these budgets, and so that way the clubs and the teams can operate accordingly. But anyway, so like I can talk about like my experiences from being a part of the team and playing and trying to take everything that I can from my playing experiences to be able to coach it in my own way as well. So, because there was a 2 years in between my playing and coaching at Purdue where I was learning, I was trying to do as much as I could to become as good of a coach as I could be. I was coaching in Noblesville, Indiana for their high school team for those 2017, 2018 seasons, and was just trying to learn as much as I could. And then the Purdue job opened up and I was like, this could be a good opportunity to do it. Why not? So then I got it, and then it's just been a very nice experience to be able to go back to my alma mater to be able to coach these guys the way that I want to be able to, you know.
Yeah, I was an officer back in the day, and there's always something going wrong and not many things going right. So I understand that.
Yeah. What position did you have?
I was vice president my junior year, which was the first year of COVID, and then I was president my senior year, which was like coming out of COVID. So like it was basically just every day, just trying to figure out if we could have a practice and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you guys really do anything that year or no?
we had 3 games. We played Oregon State twice, and then Dominican from
Mhm.
California. And so I mean, we were practicing every day, like we were gonna have a lot of games, but I mean, it just never really happened.
Yeah. That's the thing that I like. And that was another thing too, like as a coach, like I couldn't even be on campus. So with
Mhm.
Purdue wouldn't allow any of us to be on campus. I don't know if you guys were allowed to have a
Yeah, we
coach.
were we were all on campus, but it was kind of like you had to be in cohorts. So like you were in certain groups with people that like you'd either live with or maybe you'd hang out with or see them. So yeah, it was
Gotcha. Yeah,
tough.
yeah, like Purdue wouldn't even they can like I'm not an employee of Purdue,
Hmm.
so I can even be on campus for the practices. So
Wow.
yeah, it was I remember it was like 12 players per practice when they were outdoors, and
Yeah.
it and I tried doing as much as I could, like try to help them in the event of like we were gonna have a season, since what we did was like we tried filming some practices, and it did not go over well trying to watch because sometimes the camera would just topple over because no one was really holding it. They just left it there to look at half of the field. And I was like watching shooting drills, like clearing drills, like footwork drills from different guys, and the camera would just fall over and no one realized it. So that didn't really help out much. Um, but yeah, no, it was very tough to be able to try to do anything that year. But as an officer, I mean, I feel bad for all those guys that had to do all the coordination, try to deal with the rec sports departments to try to get all that figured out, you know?
Yeah, the club sports is a tough one, but ours it sounds like is a lot um better for lacrosse teams than other schools across the nation. I feel like I always hear about the club sports offices, not backing their lacrosse team, but I feel like ours does a pretty good job. So that's why it at least made it a little bit easier.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
still tough.
Yeah, it's not always easy, but sometimes we just got to get through it, you know?
Yeah. And kind of going away from lacrosse, but still on the same page. I'm a first time uncle. And I know you're a first time father. And even
Hmm.
being an uncle, I feel like has changed my lifestyle. Um, so how is it balancing um, being a first time father, working at 9 to 5, and then also coaching MCLA lacrosse?
Also, congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she is. It's been very. I'd want to say it's very humbling for her to be in my life now. Like she's 6 months old as of about 2 weeks ago. She was born on February 15th. And so it was very tough this past season because I we all so when my wife and I found out that we were having a baby, I was thinking to myself, like I was like, yay, we're having a baby. But then my second thought was, wait, it's gonna be in the middle of the season. What am I
Season.
gonna do?
Yeah.
So, no, so when we had her, it was actually 2 days before the team went down to Dallas to play, to play SMU, Arkansas, TCU, which was a trip that I was really looking forward to because I scheduled it all, and it was the team's first time flying within the regular season. And then that happened, and I knew I wasn't gonna be able to go to Dallas regardless. So, was happy for the team, but also happy for to have my baby, obviously, too. But it was a lot to try to it's been a lot to try to balance, like, having a child in the middle of the season, and also, like you said, my 9 to 5 because I do have another job as well. Um, and then it's so the good thing about it is, like, with my job, my busy seasons throughout the summer. So when lacrosse was done, I could really focus more on my job. I could send out some emails, do a little bit of organization, I've been doing a little more handing things off to the officers. That way they can handle it so I can spend more time with my daughter. But it's really having her has really gotten me to see, like, start thinking about more and more things for the future. Like, if I do this, like, how do I want, like, if I teach my daughter this, do I want to try to teach the players this at the same time? Or like how to do things certain ways? Or like if I try to be like too much of a hard ass to her, like, do I need to do the same thing to the players? Which, I mean, the dynamic of kids and some of their mindsets nowadays are different. Like, you can't be as strict to them as you used to be. So I used to be pretty strict as a coach. Like going from, I was always like very like coach driven, and like coaches were always getting on me about different things and like trying to push me to be better. And I wanted that from the beginning. And like at Purdue, Brian, you remember it, your first semester probably, or that last semester, and just pushing the guys, getting them to be better, like getting on them as much as I possibly could. But now having her, it's like I got to think about it more like, okay, I can get on her, but I got to be able to make sure that I can do it the right way. Like, don't be so aggressive about it. Make sure you approach her calmly, and that's something I've been thinking about more with my players. Like, okay, I can do coach them this way, but I can also add this, like this a little more sensitive side to it as well. Now, college athletics, you got to be aggressive and still like want to make sure you're winning in games and such. But there's a certain point where you just got to make sure that you're being careful, or like make sure that you're thinking about the player at the same time.
Yeah, I know when you first came on to coaching at Purdue, it was such a breath of fresh air because I feel like you did such a good job of disciplining us and making sure that you were a mentor to us and a coach rather than trying to be like a friend who we couldn't take seriously. So you actually disciplined us really well and made sure that we had a good work ethic. And that's awesome to see that you are now trying to adjust to find the best coaching style since having your baby.
Mhm.
And
Now, don't
that's
get me wrong, she's still gonna be disciplined if she's in trouble,
right, absolutely.
No doubt.
right? But it's
Uh,
gonna be certain situations.
yes. Yeah. And just, I feel like being able to adapt to continue to improve your coaching style is one of the best qualities any coach can have. Because if you're continuing to improve, your players are going to see that. Your players are going to continue to adjust and hopefully in the long term be more disciplined and be the best that they
Mhm.
can be.
Yeah, and so like you said about like changing coaching styles and all that. So, not to go too far off subject here, but like a few days ago, at the Indiana lacrosse community, we lost somebody like very important to all of us. Jack Meacham, he was the head coach at Carmel, but for Carmel High School, and he was also the true lacrosse director of Indiana. And he died earlier this week from a car accident. And it's just, since his death, it's really left like a big hole within the Indiana lacrosse community. But I coached when the COVID year happened in 2020 and our seasons were all cut short. I needed to do something. So I couldn't do Purdue for a few months, and then I had been talking with Jack previously, and he wanted me to come on to True, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it because I really need to be coaching lacrosse, or like being able to do something with it. So I coached with him for the summer of 2020, and I got to learn a lot from him. I got to learn a lot from the other coaches that were there, and thinking and knowing the type of person that he is. And these past few days, I've really been thinking about like the way that Jack did things and the way that others are doing things, and like what can I do to take all these coaching styles and try to make it my own. And something that I would really like to try to do this year is think of a way to like for like this season, like for Jack, is like be able to make it memorable, like, or to like to honor him with everything that he's done. He actually just won the Carmel, the state championship this past season, with the first time that they've done it in less than 10 years. I think it's been like 8 or something. And then he was also named the Carmel Coach of the Year by all of his colleagues at Carmel, which I don't know if you guys know much about Carmel, but it is the biggest school district in the entire state. And it's
Massive.
known for its lacrosse, it's known for football, it's known for so many different things. Swimming, they've won 28, 29 state championships in a row. It's probably more than that at this point. But
Yeah.
just thinking about like what he's done and thinking about like what I learned from him that year and continually try to take it and find the next best step to be able to adapt to it and try to make it like something in my own way, you know? So just like you said, I'm trying to think of like the best ways to be able to take the things that I learn and be able to adapt it and make it my own for Purdue for this upcoming season, which yeah, I just got to be thinking about that a lot and just thinking about Jack a lot lately too. So it's been kind of tough for that, you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's not easy.
Yeah, it was very tough to see the way it went, but we're we're all very sorry, and all of our condolences go out to him and his family and his wife.
Have people in the lacrosse community been stepping up to try and fill his shoes, or are they kind of waiting to give their support? And
Pete, so there are people that are like they're providing support. No one's really doing anything with true
Mhm,
lacrosse or Carmel right now. It's still a bit of a mourning period at the moment. So
absolutely.
Mhm.
the funeral for family was earlier today.
Hmm.
So there was a vigil that they had on Wednesday night. So the incident happened on Tuesday. They had the vigil on Wednesday, and there was a lot of people there just showing their love and support for him. College coaches all throughout the state were there. Culver Military Academy, they came down actually. A lot of them took a bus down and they visited, and that's I think it's about a 2-hour drive for them to come down to us.
Wow.
Um, and then a bunch of other like true lacrosse people were there that came down. It was a very big showing of the type of person that Jack was and the big outreach that he had towards everybody.
Mhm.
And then people they'd done like a GoFundMe page for the funeral to help out his wife because I mean they've only been married for 2 months, and then they've been so like for the 2 months like they didn't have any kids, so she's having to take care of a lot of it. So they started a GoFundMe page, and I think it was 15,000 was the goal, and at one point it was like 25,000. I'm sure it's more than
That's
that at this
awesome.
point.
Yeah, Jack sounds like he was a great mentor and coach to a bunch of people, and that he spread a good positive influence. And kind of like the silver lining of that is that there is so much positivity that a good coach and mentor can spread, and it just shows that the type of brotherhood that lacrosse has as a whole, and also in the MCLA, but just throughout all of lacrosse and coaching in general. So we're
Hmm.
very sorry to hear that news, and we hope that everyone can share his memories and continue to spread positivity and just continue to grow with that.
Yeah, yeah, there's been stuff on like the lacrosse network about him. Like True Lacrosse's social media pages, they've been all over that. So feel free to share. Like if you should see it, feel free to share it. Just talk a little more about his story. I mean, like I said, he did a lot, and we're all trying to find ways to be able to pay back for it. I played in a pickup game of box lacrosse on Thursday night. It was just talking with all we had a moment of silence for him, and then we were all talking about him afterwards because there were some guys that didn't know who he was, and so those that were there that did know him, we talked about him, and then we talked about how like you said, like the way lacrosse brings everyone together, it's a medicine game. So, and that's the way that I see it is like I don't always get too many chances to play anymore with everything that I have going on in my life. So every chance I get to play, I want to be able to relax and think of it as a medicine game, but also to be able to honor the memory of certain people that can't even do it anymore, like Jack. So just trying to make sure that I can honor those people as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, Brian and I were talking a little bit before you joined, and I was saying all the coaches that I've gone through. In my junior year, our coach passed away, and it was going through that kind of same thing and having that shock of, how could this kind of happen? This huge person in our community,
Mhm,
and it was that kind of same aspect of what can we take from Coach Jackson, and then apply that to ourselves, and like my everyday life, I still apply things that he told me. So I definitely understand that feeling of loss, but I also think there's something beautiful in that, in coming together as a community, and remembering those people and taking those things that they've said and through their words and actions, kind of taking that to
mhm.
heart. So I am sorry, but I'm hoping that you guys can come together for sure.
Yeah, I think we will too. It's just gonna take a little bit of time until
Hmm.
then. And yeah, like you said about Coach Jackson, I did hear about that and
Hmm.
offer my condolences.
Yep.
I didn't realize that was when you played as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, very sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
I read the
Thank you.
stories and everything, so he sounds like he was a really great coach.
He was for sure. He was a great guy. Yeah.
Good. Sorry to get too emotional, guys.
No,
No, that's great.
that's what
And
we're here
then,
for,
yes, I mean,
I don't-
I've seen the Barbie movie, so it's good for men to talk about emotions.
Ah,
How many times have you seen it?
Unfortunately, only once, but
yeah,
I'm
same
gonna
here.
have my own faux minx coming for Halloween. So, I
Dressing
mean,
up as Ken.
yeah, having my own little Mojo
You-
Dojo Casa house. So
You're gonna dye your hair
Ah,
blonde too.
blonde. Nah, I'd probably. It depends. It depends on how acting's going, but I might, maybe.
Well, I was
Who
gonna
knows?
say it could be part of a potential future Ken gig if enough people see
oh,
that you
There
do.
you go.
Ryan,
Just
come
saying.
on.
Hey, I don't think there's any Ken dolls out there with a full arm sleeve, but who knows? There's times are changing.
You never know. It could
Yeah.
be the bad boy Ken Barbie doll. You
Bad
never
boy
know.
Ken.
Mhm.
Hey, I like that. All right, but changing paces,
Uh,
you have drastically changed the recruiting process and social media presence of Purdue lacrosse since taking over. So, where do you see Purdue lacrosse and the MCLA in the next couple of years going?
Well, this will be my 6th year coming in. So I've been trying to do everything that I can to like try to recruit the best guys that I possibly can. So coming into 2018, like coming into the 2018-2019 season, I knew of the guys that were seniors that are like because they were freshmen when I was a senior, so I knew them. And then after that, like I was just full on like trying to recruit everybody that I possibly could. And then through the social media aspect, I've kind of also been treating that as like a recruiting process as well. So like it's another feature to be able to use to be able to recruit as many players as you can. So there are so many more MCLA teams that are using it as a recruiting tool, like to be able to use social media, like the Instagram videos, the reels, the little clips of like somebody doing behind the back shot and a goal or like a between the legs or whatever. I mean, the more that kids see that, the more they're going to think like, oh, I want to be able to go do that at this school too. It looks like it's fun. That way I can be featured on there as well. So when I was at Purdue, we never had that. We had like Twitter just to tweet things, and then and Instagram wasn't as big back then as it is right now. And now more and more people are utilizing social media to be able to use it as that recruiting tool. So with where I'm trying to get Purdue at is kind of like the same, try to be able to do more and more of it as I'm in this role to try to be able to get the best kids that I possibly could, but also want to make sure that you are making the decision to come to Purdue, not just for your education, but to also be able to play lacrosse. Now, as I tell everyone, is like you're only at Purdue for mainly for your education, whether it's engineering, business, something within agricultural, just the big things that are at Purdue. So whatever it is that you're coming to campus for, just make sure that like you're focusing on that, but then also you're being competitive and staying committed to the team too. Those are kind of the things that I've been trying to focus on more and more with the team. It's just a matter of getting us to that next level. So another thing that I've been thinking about too is the competition that we're playing. So and with the recruiting aspect, like what I want to do is I'm trying to get the team to travel more to different locations and like to be able to go longer distances to be able to play, because the farther you go and the better competition you play, the better you're going to be. So this past season we did our first regular season flight to Dallas to play SMU, who was a 2023 semifinalist for the LSA tournament. We played TCU, who was the 2022 LSA conference champion, who played in nationals the year prior. And then we had Arkansas, who was also making the trip, and we played them too. And then we have our Yulee trip. We have our Yulee game against Pittsburgh, where we played them, and then they had Buffalo coming. Then we went to Michigan State and Western Michigan, and so and we got a couple of pretty big trips travel this upcoming year. But the more travel that we do, the more recruiting I also try to do as well to try to get kids to come to these games to be able to watch it and think like, okay, yes, no matter the result of the outcome, whether we win or lose, I still want them to think like Purdue lacrosse is still something they're thinking about. They can come play and still have fun with it as well. The guys on the sideline, even if they're not in the field, they're hooting and hollering, they're having fun, they're just into the game
That was
so much.
me. That was me.
That you were one of them, and
Yeah.
and guys are still constantly doing it for that reason. So yeah, it's just I've been trying to get us to be at that level to where we can we can consistently compete with highly within the UMLC conference, and then hopefully get back to the national tournament here within the next few years.
So, I'm just wondering kind of what your recruiting process actually looks like. So, do you maybe go to tournaments, or do you send emails to schools, or do you just kind of find people that follow you on social media? How does that kind of happen for you?
So, unfortunately, with the tournaments, I don't really travel to those. Just my full-time job doesn't like I just can't
Hmm.
really do all that with how busy
Yep.
my work schedule is. Like I said, summer's busy time. So, and mainly because it involves a lot of construction, and I
Hmm.
do commercial kitchen sales, and we got to get the projects done within a certain time. And especially within the schools, you got to get those done in the summer before the schools open up.
Right.
So my summers are always booked there. But as far as everything else that I do, it's just a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. I just reaching out to kids. It's more of I'm trying to find. I'm gonna and something I would like to do is do a little bit more outreach, but is try to find like and what I mainly do is I find kids that want to come to Purdue and want to play at Purdue, just try to get them more involved, talk with them a lot more, and then they also talk with our recruiting officers. We've got 4 officers right now that stay in touch with all the recruits that we have. They're sending emails, they're giving them notifications, they're scheduling campus tours with them. Just trying to make sure that they are involved and they are interested as much as they possibly can be.
And those are recruiting officers from your team.
Yeah, they're players. There's one that's junior, and then there are a couple that are sophomores on the team. So
Awesome.
they've been helping out with. So we've got a bunch of kids that are interested in trying out for the team this upcoming season, and they've been sending out information to them about like here's when the call out meeting is, here's when the tryouts are. And we give them as much information as we can, but some of it we still like to save for the call out meeting
Sure.
too.
And so those officers are separate from like your presidents and vice president or whatever you
Yeah,
have. Okay. I
yeah,
would just
because
say
obviously.
for any, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You were saying.
Oh, I was just saying, for any MCLA teams out there that are listening, I think while I was at Oregon, I definitely would have loved to do this because I was that person sending out that stuff, me and like one other person. So I think having, and that gives those kids experience of what it's like to kind of manage or be an officer. So I think if you're listening, you should look into applying this to your team because I think that is a really good way of using your resources.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like I said, like I can't in the event of like if I can't send out an email or make a phone call with any of the players, then I tell one of them like, hey, can you talk to him? And then I'll get out to like reach back out to him another time. And then the other thing that we do is we do have a questionnaire on our online through our social media handles where you fill out some questions and it goes to a spreadsheet that we see, and then our recruiting officers they reach out to that person, give them a bit of a send them a quick email, just say hey, just let us know if there's any questions. We'll reach out to us and let us know like what if there's anything you need or wondering about Purdue or Purdue University in general, or even just for the lacrosse team. And that's usually something that I have the recruiting officers just to keep track of that, talk to this person, and make sure that they know as much as they can. And there's a bunch of kids that are reaching out about it. So like right now, there's a bunch of kids that are graduating year of 2024, 2025 that are trying to get their colleges figured out, that they're starting to send more emails. They're trying to fill in the questionnaires. They're trying to figure out where they want to go to school, obviously. And so I make sure that the recruiting officers handle as much of that as they possibly can, because we've all like I've got stuff I got to worry about. The president, the vice president, they've all got stuff that they got to worry about. So trying to leave it in their hands to take care of that.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure if this is true, but I want to give a shout out to Andrew Golden of Varsity Club Lacrosse because I believe he may have been the first recruiting officer for Purdue lacrosse. So at least he's the
Mm,
first one that I've seen have a huge impact. There might be more, and I'm sorry if I got that wrong.
I don't remember. And when I played, there wasn't much of a recruiting officer. It was always if you showed up, you played. Because when I played, we never had more than 30 guys on the team. It was like in my senior year, we only had 22.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was about
Yeah.
to say when you said tryouts, I was like, tryouts? What? Like,
Yeah, and it was the more I was recruiting, the more kids and the more that I was trying to recruit, the more kids were interested in playing. And so it was just like, it's going to get to a point where we're just going to be having tryouts and we'll get the right kids that'll play. And yeah, it was 2021-22 season. We had 50, kept 55 guys. I think we had like 80 something try out. And then
wow.
as tryouts were going, it kind of dwindled a little bit and more
Sure.
guys just realized like they didn't want to do it anymore. So yeah, we started out with 55 and looking to hopefully get close to those numbers for this upcoming season.
Yeah, that's
That's
amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
I love that it's growing this fast, and that just means the sport's getting better. And
Mhm.
I can't wait for more people to tune in and see how fun it is.
Well, and I think the other thing too with that is, I mean, so when most people think of college lacrosse, they think of like NCAA, like D1, D2, D3. Not a lot of people really think about like playing club lacrosse in college, like at a big time D1 school like Purdue, Oregon, or any of the other big time schools. When they think of just going to those schools, they're just thinking like get an education, do whatever, join some other clubs, and then go on and do your job. Like none of them all kids in college like that are in high school now, they don't always think of like, okay, like if I don't play at a D3, like D1, D2, or D3 school, like I'm just not going to play in general. It's the MCLA and I've noticed that and I've seen it from the other club leagues out there as well, like the NCLO and the GOOO. They're trying to promote their leagues as much as they can to get more kids interested in being able to play in those leagues. So like for the MCLA, like there's so many different teams that are within the league, like all the big time schools that don't have D1 lacrosse, that they're like they with this league, it just helps out to give kids the opportunity to be able to play and compete for a national championship. And they've done a good job being able to kind of structure it the same way that the NCAA does with the conference championships and the big tournament that we have, which I think that the MCLA tournament, the way that they do it is great. It may be a long week for those guys that win the national championship, but it's very rewarding for them in the end. And just knowing that you still can be in a competitive league and to be able to play, I think it's still awesome to be able to do that. So it's great that you guys are trying to promote that as much as you can to get kids to recognize that it's you can do more than just NCAA. You can play MCLA, you can play competitive lacrosse no matter where you go, and just make sure that you're having fun doing it and also still get a great education at the same time.
Absolutely. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into the D1 UMLC. That's the Upper Midwest Lacrosse Conference. What do you think the future of it looks like with Illinois State and Central Michigan leaving this year? And do you think more teams will eventually join or leave?
So they left last year.
Last year.
So yeah, so Central Michigan and Illinois State left last year. They kind of wanted to take a step back from
Andrew
the
Golden, information incorrect. That's a strike.
yeah, no, they left after the 2022 season. It was just tough for them to be able to stick with it, and they kind of want to take a step back. And I have talked with the coaches and some of the guys in the team. They hope to come back to the MCLA. They just kind of want to take a step back to try to rebuild their programs to be able to come back and play in the MCLA. But we've been trying to get teams to come play in the UMLC for a little bit. I've talked with Louisville about it. They've been thinking about it every now and then about trying to join the UMLC or even just joining the MCLA in general, even if they don't join the UMLC. We've talked with Kentucky about it before. Because they were MCLA many years ago, but then they dropped out of it. We're trying to find as many good teams as we possibly can. It's just a matter of getting guys to stick around to do it. And the more and more teams that we find, the more and more competitive I think that we can be. It's just a matter of getting those other schools and those club teams to be committed to doing it. And there may be a trial period, or just to make sure that they can actually make the commitments that they can to be able to do it. It's just a matter of if they want to pursue going in that direction or not.
So if you know, what is maybe the appeal to going towards the GLL or another league compared to the MCLA, or why would those teams not come back? It's kind of what I'm probably asking.
Uh, I'm not too familiar with the GLL. It's the NCLL I know a little bit more about, just mainly from talking with Louisville's coach and a couple of those guys. The GLL is mainly run through like I know Wisconsin's very involved with it. I know Notre Dame's club team's
Mhm.
very involved with it. I know Illinois State's over there now. So the advantage of like with the GLL being like, I mean, it's Great Lakes Lacrosse League. I mean, it's all the teams that aren't within the MCLA that are part of that league that are within that 200-300 mile radius, that
Mhm.
whatever they're at around there. So it's kind of nice because they also do compete. Like they have their own little national championship, kind of like what the MCLA does. I know the NCLL does the same thing like what we do. They go out east or wherever they're at and have their national tournament. Um, I guess I mean, just the advantage of it would just be you're still playing competitive lacrosse. So I mean, the MCLA, there's just a lot more promotion I mean, it's a more well-known league compared to like the GLL or the NCLL. I don't know how long that they've been around for, but I just know that the MCLA just has a bit, since there's so many more schools and it's been around for so many more years that they're just able to get more of an outreach on some of these different, through these different teams about talking about their league.
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, I know that like with the NCLL, I mean, there are some teams that are like some schools are going from GLL to NCLL and some are doing the opposite of vice versa. So I guess just really depends on whatever you can make work based on what your budget looks like and your interest levels and what you can do, like what you and your team, what you guys want to be able to do, you know?
Right. I'm sure it makes it a lot easier with especially like GLL when all those teams are so close. Why go
Hmm.
to the MCLA and then travel to you got to travel far places because everyone else is in the GLL or something. So
Hmm.
I get
And
that.
I know that some of those guys they do travel. I've
Mhm.
heard that Wisconsin does make like they do make a big trip every year. I think I saw something where they could be heading somewhere down south or something like that, which I mean for them being in Wisconsin, that's a big deal
Mhm.
for them too. I guess it just really depends on what you can make work with your team and make sure that you get as many guys there as you can, you know.
Right. Uh the UMLC is kind of like the PNCLL in terms of not having that strong of a nationals presence. Um for the UMLC at least, why do you think that is?
The competition is just so good everywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, the powerhouse conferences, the SCLC, the SLC. I mean, those guys are like all those teams are just so good where they're getting 3 or 4 teams per conference within the national tournament. It's just hard to be able to compete with that. Like those and like I said earlier with like traveling, those guys travel a lot. So like Florida, they do a lot of traveling. Like they've gone out to California a couple times where they could play Chapman, USC, UCLA, and then like those teams would come back out like their way to be able to play them. Like even the Utah teams, Colorado teams, those guys all travel like the big time programs to play them. It's all just such good competition, and they're all playing against each other where the more that they play against each other and the more that they're winning or losing, the stronger it makes their schedule look and it just improves their at-large bids. Whereas with the UMLC, we're not playing as much of that competition against each other like we could be. Like Minnesota, they do a lot of traveling against good competition. Michigan State does the same thing. We've been trying to do more of that to try to improve our chances of being able to become like considered national contenders and also play against like really good competition and better competition we play, like I said, the better that better we are.
Yeah, it definitely comes with a few factors of other conferences just being so tough. And
Mhm.
definitely that aspect of traveling and playing those tough teams, even if they're not in your conference. And, you know, um, they take into account your losses, your really good losses against good teams. So even if, you don't win those games, if you're playing a good game, you're going to get some recognition for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and Liberty. I think it was like those guys, those three this past season were like 1, 2, 3, and they all beat each other one way or another. It was like
Yeah.
I think it was like Georgia Tech beat them, or they lost to them, and then Virginia Tech beat Liberty, and I think Liberty beat Georgia Tech. So it was like, who do you choose amongst those three to like to be number one at that point? And
Right.
I was a pollster this past season and trying to figure out like who to put where and trying to pay attention, like, okay, these guys won this game, but then they lost to this team, and then doing that, it was hard to be a pollster because everyone was just beating each other.
Yeah, it was pretty
I mean,
crazy last year.
yeah, like South Carolina beating the number one team, like who knows how many weeks in a row. Like that was crazy to be able
That
to
was
see
a
that
wild
too.
streak.
Mhm.
And that even though they didn't have the greatest record, them doing that still helped them get in the national tournament.
Yeah,
So it really does matter who you're playing against and how like seeing what the outcomes of those games are.
for sure.
So I love that you're trying to have Purdue have more experience against a multiple amount of different teams across the whole US. So I guess my question is, what's something that Purdue has to offer to students for either campus life or as a lacrosse player than other schools in the US?
Huh. Well, I mean,
There's a lot of brick buildings.
oh yeah, a lot of brick buildings, a lot of brick buildings you can play wall ball on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, just from an education standpoint, I mean, we're one of the top engineering schools in the country. We've got great sports programs. I mean, despite Purdue basketball's loss in the NCAA tournament, I mean, they've still got a good basketball team, and I mean, we've got good athletics programs that like players can go see. Um, I mean, as far like it's more for me, it's more of like an education thing when it comes to like talking about Purdue. And for those that don't really like know, like it really is like one of the higher end educational institutions in the country. It tries not to focus too much on certain aspects of like just within the athletics department. It focuses more on like Purdue is doing this, they're building patents on these different types of things. We're big on the astronauts and Neil Armstrong and all those guys that have gone to the moon. So like just being able to show that like we have a like you can get a very, very good education, but also you can play very good and competitive lacrosse at Purdue at the same time. I mean, as far as like what makes us different, I mean, we're this makes us different is like mainly it's more of an education standpoint. Like if you go to Purdue and you get a very, very good education, you have a very, very good chance of being able to get a great job coming out of college. So it's just a matter of finding out what it is that you want to do if you just want to go to Purdue and just study, or if you want to still be part of something competitive as well.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. Um, I had a job instantly out of college. I did take my degree and throw it away to kind of pursue acting, but no, the connections that you can make at Purdue are phenomenal, and just the amount of outreach that Purdue has is insane. And when I was in school, there were so many research opportunities. I was able to work on a program. I believe I'm allowed to talk about it now for Meta, where they did haptic vibrations like on your arm to translate for different languages. Like there's so many different things that you can do at Purdue education wise, and just the money that is put into research and now into sports too is just an amazing experience to have.
Yeah, and I mean the resources that Purdue has, the outreach that it has, the alumni base that it has, there's just so many different people that you can talk to, and you can be able to get internships. I think there's a lot of guys that I've known and a lot of my players that they've just had internships just going like freshmen going after their freshman year, just going wherever they need to. Some of my teammates when I was in college, they were going out to California for their internship out there. They were going to New York. They were going down to Florida. They were all over the place. There's just so many different opportunities that all of these guys had. And for me, I mean, I was an exercise science major, and now I'm a salesman for commercial kitchen equipment. So like, and a project manager. So it's like the education standpoint that you get from Purdue. I mean, no matter like what you're studying, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can learn from Purdue, like not just about like not just about like what Purdue offers, like from an education standpoint, but like what you can learn about yourself at the same time. Like you're doing this, but at the same time, you decide that you may want to do this later on down the road. Like there are some guys that I know that started out as engineering majors and then they kind of switched and they either did business or something else. I mean, the opportunities are limitless, and Purdue's very, very good to work with, and they're the people there are very easy to get along with. And the other thing I would say about Purdue is tuition, knock on wood, has been frozen for 10 plus years, and hopefully it can stay that way. So, and we know how money and inflation has been lately. So it's something you really got to think about if you're trying to go for a higher ed opportunity, you know?
I have missed Midwest hospitality and prices on food so much ever since moving out to California. So that is something I definitely took for granted. Um, the
But you're coming back for
hospitality,
alumni weekend, right?
ah, that's we'll see, we'll
Mm,
see.
uh.
Potentially. Sam and
Mhm.
I did discuss about how we both got employed recently, so I don't know how many vacation days I'll have, but we'll see, give or take.
Yeah, you could fly out that Friday or that late Friday night, get in Saturday, Saturday night or whatever, and then you'll be good for the game.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's alumni games, like something that I feel like is such a great thing with Purdue lacrosse is that they do have alumni events. They do have the alumni weekend where you come in, you get to meet the new players, you get to meet the team, and you get to have dinner and also play against them and pretend like you still have it. So I love that aspect, and it kind of continues to shape a brotherhood that
hmm
wherever you are in your life, you have something to come back to.
hmm Yeah, and like with this year's alumni weekend, like I'm looking forward to it because it's all so I'm only sticking around for the week so that it's also the day of the game is also the day of like that same day I have a couple of friends that I know, they already got married but in Maine or somewhere northeast, and then they're having their reception that same night. So like after the game, I'm going to the reception and seeing all my friends there, but since a lot of my like lacrosse teammates and friends, like and their significant others are all tied in with this couple, like we're going to be there Friday, we're going to be there Saturday for the game, and then we're all going to still going to be there for the reception. So it's still nice to like, even as alumni, like we're still going to be coming to play in a game, but like we have two reasons to come to Indiana for that reason is to come play in this game, but also and see like all the alumni, but and also to be there for this reception too. So it's kind of nice to have like the alumni status that we do, like where everyone's all together, they're all talking and everyone's like just really great friends and they're like brothers to each other. I actually got a text from Chris Cosiba last night. He and a bunch of them were together in Chicago, and he was texting me saying like we're all together talking about times and miss you and hope everything's going well. So it was nice to be able to get something like that, knowing those guys are all still getting together, you know.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I just played in my first alumni game last year, and it was so awesome. And
Mhm.
Oregon's alumni, I'd say, um, I don't even know the next word I'm looking for, but Oregon's alumni, I would say, are just almost non-existent. We tried a alumni weekend, like a ceremony for our Hall of Fame a few years ago, and then COVID hit, and just since then, it hasn't really been the same. So I am very envious of other programs who have that type of alumni support.
No, like I've heard a lot about Oregon lacrosse, like, and because you guys were very big, like way back in the day, and like you guys are still a bit, like it's still a very, very good team, and you guys
Hmm.
have won who knows how many conference championships, and
Yeah.
you're constant contenders for the national tournament. So I mean, for you guys to be able to constantly be able to do that, you know, you're going to get the alumni to be able to back you to
Hmm.
be able to help you out to get to nationals every single year, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I hold? Could you guys hold on for just one second?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we can pause too.
Absolutely.
Well,
Beautiful.
somebody just wanted to say hi really quick, but she's also wanted to say goodnight as well. It's very late past her bedtime.
I love her outfit. That is awesome.
The next
Oh,
Purdue
geez.
All-American lacrosse player.
Oh, gosh, and the new dad.
Yeah.
All right, say hi and say goodnight. All right. Okay.
Good
Good
night,
night,
Nora.
Nora.
All
Thank you, Mrs. Coach.
right.
This is coach. Oh, Brian. Okay, I think
She slept for like the reason she's up so late is because she slept for like 2.5 hours and woke up at like 6:30 or so. So yeah, that's why she's so late past her bedtime.
Yeah. I know it's rough. My sister had a baby about 2 years ago, and I give credit to all parents just because I know how crazy sleep schedules can get and trying to manage everything all at once. So,
Yeah, yeah, she's been waking up random hours throughout the night. It's either me or majority of the time it's her, but every now and then it'll be me, but I'm always the first one up taking care of her in the morning. So
mm,
yeah, it's a lot, but it's very rewarding in the end.
absolutely.
all right. So, we have one final question for you, Coach Sahm.
Hmm.
What is the best advice you would give a high school lacrosse player?
Just yeah, be open-minded on things. Like don't and be open-minded, don't take anything for granted, and take advantage of as many opportunities as you can. Like if I didn't play like and the reason I say is like if I went to Purdue and I didn't play lacrosse, I wouldn't know what I would have done. Like I would just been doing homework and trying to find other clubs to be a part of, but I'm glad I was able to play. I know, like at Purdue, they've got all their engineering clubs that they have, and a lot of kids take advantage of those. There's a lot of other clubs that are out there, but just yeah, be open minded, take advantage, and try to figure out who it is that you want to be for the rest of your life, and take that mindset with you wherever it is that you go to.
I
Great
love that.
advice.
That's amazing. Now, if you have any other shout outs or any other things you want to discuss, please feel free to go ahead.
Um, No, just shout out to my wife for bringing my baby in. No, but having them around, they've been great supporters through everything that I've done. Can't say enough about the amount of support that they've given me for all this. And just trying to think who else. And thank you guys for having me on here. Shout out to Golden, Tommy, and all those guys that help out with running Varsity Club Lacrosse. It's honestly what you guys are doing for the MCLA and all the other leagues out there. It's awesome because we just sometimes we just don't get enough recognition, or we're just like not as many people know about our stories or anything like that. So it's great that they've created a way to be able to create those stories and share all these different things about each of these teams, you know. um but yeah, and then like I said, shout out to the True Lacrosse, Carmel Lacrosse communities. Just again, deepest condolences and prayers out to all those family, friends, and everyone that's been deeply impacted by the passing of Coach Meacham, and just getting ready for this upcoming season.
Yep. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on our podcast. You are an amazing coach, and two, a great mentor. So I just want to say thank you so much for having an influence in my life. And you definitely set a great standard on how to become a good man. And I really appreciate what you've done for Purdue.
Well, you're gonna make me blush.
I was gonna say, Brian, that was awesome.
Brian, come on.
All right, I'll stop recording. I'll stop recording.
No, but seriously, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, no, it was great being able to coach you, even if it was just for that one semester. And hopefully I can just continually be able to do that for any other guys that I've continually been able to coach, like for the past, the present, and for future years to come, and just constantly trying to be able to make an influence, not just on the lacrosse field, but also in their personal lives as well.
Yep, it was really good meeting you, Coach Sahm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great to meet you, Sam, and yeah, good luck to you guys with good luck to all your future jobs and all of your employment. You said so. What is your? I know with Brian's film and everything. What are you doing now, Sam?
So I'm kind of getting into the UO lacrosse pipeline here. We've got two of my best friends work at this venture capital financial fund firm. and I'm a journalism major, so I will be doing basically all of their like email type and working with their clients and making sure they've got everything they need. So yeah, me and Brian both start on 9/11. So very excited about that.
Yeah. Oh man, crazy day to be starting.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I've been saying. Yeah, very
Yeah.
odd, but yeah, excited.
Well, good. No, awesome. Yeah, good luck with your guys' jobs. Brian, yours is just that film, right?
So actually I'm not just an actor. Let's go.
Oh gosh.
I'm a Renaissance man. No, I've just accepted a position with Equinox. They have this online program partnered with Lionel University. I think I legally have to say all of my opinions are my own and not a part of Equinox. But I'm going through their online program to become a personal trainer. So I start their education program September 4th, and then once passing their open note exam, I will start personal training on 9/11.
Gotcha. Okay. They're making you work on Labor Day?
I mean extra
Crazy.
pay, so
Yeah.
I mean, if you're getting paid for it, I guess that's okay. So that's
yeah.
fair. Gotcha. Well, yeah, good luck to both you guys in your jobs.
Yeah.
Hope everything goes well.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck to you on this next season. We will definitely. I mean, I'm sure Brian will be um, keeping in contact, but I will definitely be following you guys for sure. So good
Yeah,
luck.
awesome. Yeah, no, and I've been following Oregon lacrosse for a while and continually looking forward. Hopefully, I can get something scheduled here soon.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I was hoping to get something scheduled with them this past season, but another thing came up where I had to take advantage of it. So hopefully within the next couple of years we can get out there and then they can return the favor as well.
Right, that
So
would be awesome.
yeah, it'd be nice little rivalry for you two to be able to talk about
I
on
was
the
just gonna
podcast.
say,
Yeah, that'd be
do
cool.
we make the trip? Do we have a live
Oh yeah.
podcast during?
Yes, it's got to be a
Oh,
live
do
feed,
we?
live podcast,
Yeah.
Yeah.
everything.
Yep.
Wow,
I'm good with that.
I'm down.
All right, 2024, 25. One of those
There
2
we.
years, we'll get it figured out.
All right, I've
Let's
got it
do it.
penciled in.
Perfect.
All right, nice
All
to meet
right.
you, Coach.
Thanks,
Yep.
Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that was our interview with Purdue Coach Dan Sahm. Thank you, Coach, for being on the podcast with us. We really appreciate it. Also, a big shout out to him because he is kind of the main reason why we have intro and outro music. So if it's bad, that's not his fault.
You,
But
if it's bad, don't say anything. all
don't
right?
say
Just
anything. Don't say anything. And it's probably my fault. It's definitely my fault. But let's move on to our third segment, our hot takes. So I feel like last time our hot takes, we didn't even focus on lacrosse at all.
Not at
So
all.
I'll take the blame on that.
Nah,
Sounds like a
is what it
recurring
is.
theme. But hey, I have a hot take. I believe that Atlas is going to make it to the semifinals for the PLL.
Yeah, I feel like if you go even farther and say they're going to make the finals, then it's just too unbelievable.
It's right.
You know, I think they could win that first game, but the second, yeah,
Mhm.
I'll give you that one. You got any other ones?
I do. So we're going to transition to baseball, a
Okay.
lacrosse rival. But I believe Mookie Betts is going to win the MVP. I know a lot of people think Ronald Acuna Jr. will, and I'm like, that is BS. Mookie Betts, I've seen him play multiple times. He is a superstar. And my final hot take, Aiden O'Connell in the NFL, iconic man, iconic mustache. He will have a better career than Jimmy G.
Can you give a little background for the people who don't know who Aiden O'Connell is?
Honestly, no, I can't. Aiden O'Connell is an icon, and you should know who he is. Now, he is a former Purdue lacrosse. Not Purdue
Whoa!
lacrosse. That
That'd
would
be
have been
sweet.
insane. If
That
it
would be sweet.
Aiden O'Connell is a former Purdue alumni. He played. He was one of the most accurate QBs in Purdue history. It was very cool to see him play there, and he has been taking preseason by storm. A lot of Raiders fans think that he should start over Jimmy G. I'm not a Raiders fan, but I mean, it's Aiden O'Connell, man.
But you agree he should be starting over Jimmy G.
He should be. Yeah. I mean, if we could bet in California, I wonder what the odds are for MVP for
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, I guess I'll go with some hot takes here. I think the Chrome are going to win it all. I'm just kidding. That would be sweet, but too bad they're the only team that didn't make the playoffs. I'm a Chrome fan, so that's tough to see. But for my PLL hot take, I'm going to go with who was in the MVP? It wasn't even. I wanted to throw Ryder Garnsey in MVP, but he didn't even make the cut. So I'm throwing Ryder Garnsey in Attackman of the Year, and then I'm gonna go with we're gonna go Marcus Holman for MVP. I don't know if those are crazy hot takes or not, because I'm not hugely immersed into the PLO scene. But
lukewarm.
Yeah, I would go with that. This last weekend I was at the Tacoma games for PLL, and I'll just say like one thing about it, but it was amazing to see how lacrosse guys are all the same. Whatever league you're in, it's most likely going to be similar experiences. Club lacrosse, you're traveling all the time. You're taking buses, flights, whatever, and you're staying in hotels and you're hanging out with your buddies. Maybe if you're old enough, you're going to go out and enjoy the scenery or around the city. And like, it's the exact same at the PLL. I rolled up to the hotel like 4 hours before game started, and there's just like 40 players sitting in the lobby, just like chilling. And for me, and I'm assuming for a lot of people, you don't go through experiences where you see professional athletes just like hanging out. So I think that's just like really cool to see. And I got to talk to a few of the players because I stayed in the same hotel as them. So it was just really interesting to see that like we're not that different. And maybe, our skill sets are, but as lacrosse players, like we're all pretty similar, which I think is like really cool. And I don't really have any hot takes. I didn't come prepared, honestly. This was all I had.
Nah, you're good, man.
That's about it. But yeah.
Sick. All right. So that's all for this episode of the Varsity Club Lacrosse Podcast. If you guys want us to answer any questions, you can email us at varsityclublacrossepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll answer them later. Make sure to tune in next time for more exciting content about the world of club lacrosse. You can follow us on Instagram at Sam_Criscola and at Brian Plunkett Lopez. Thanks for listening.